In some ways, I'm a little bitter, y'all. I'm a little bit bitter. When it comes to new media, you start with literally nothing and nobody. You just turn on a camera, you start talking, you upload it to YouTube, and you go like this. I hope somebody watches this. I remember back when I have a buddy named Brian. He created like 7 or 8 YouTube accounts just to subscribe to my shitty little channel when I had like no subscribers to make me feel good. I still remember that. So it really is, and this isn't just about me. This is almost everybody on YouTube. It is real bottom-up stuff. You start with Dickie McGee's axe, and you gotta grind your way up. You gotta put in time, you gotta put in effort, you gotta be obsessed. And then there's the opposite of that. The opposite of that is political dynasty BS. For example, perhaps you have the last name Bush, and you just sort of trip over your dick and fall into a governorship, whether it's in Texas or California. Perhaps you're a Clinton, and you get paid gargantuan amounts of money because you're a Clinton. Or you're a Biden, and you have all these foreign governments throwing money at your face just to get access to your dad, because your dad's powerful. Or you're a McCain, and you seemingly have zero talent or political intelligence, yet you're gifted this position of, commentate to us, O Holy One, because you're a McCain. Well, that's Meghan McCain. So, she was on The View. Everybody loved to hate her. And now I don't know if she's just off The View and taking a break, not in media, but inexplicably, she was invited on Meet the Press to give us her take on what's happening with this reconciliation package and the negotiation. She's going to say something here that is provably, verifiably, demonstrably, completely incorrect. And of course, Meet the Press won't correct it. Meghan McCain won't come out and correct it. Nobody's going to correct this. But she just goes out there and says something that's totally untrue. Now, I won't accuse her of lying. I'll accuse her of ignorance and just not knowing, but proclaiming something that's nonsense. Maybe she is lying. I don't know. But I don't need to go to that accusation. I just need to demonstrate to you that what she's saying here is total BS. So she's asked her thoughts on the reconciliation package. Here's her answer.
Kirsten Sinema, I know you have a pretty good personal relationship. That's the frustration Democrats say. They don't know what Joe Manchin wants. They don't know what his bottom line is, and they don't know what her bottom line is. How would you describe it?
Well, I mean, politically in Arizona, I think that's why people like her so much. Just anecdotally, conservatives in my life really like her because, she's holding the line for conservatives in a lot of ways. The question I always have is, for people like Joe Manchin, if it's not him, it's going to be a Republican. So this distaste and this, outward hostility towards moderates in the Democratic Party surprises me. I also was shocked by seeing Senator Booker talking about sort of openly this distrust between progressives and moderates. How the Democratic Party ultimately threads the needle, I don't know. But I will say that President Biden ran on being a moderate, as you said. He ran and won with the help of independent centrists, Trump-wary Republicans, and he is not governing as one. The Build Back Better agenda is the most progressive, modern agenda of all time, up to $5 trillion, and it's not polling well. So I think I'm just confused as why they're doubling down on something that is cratering in the polls right now.
It's not polling well, she says, about the Build Back Better agenda, the reconciliation bill, and he's not a moderate. Well, look at the reality. This is from Warren Gunnels. He cites Quinnipiac poll. 62% of Americans support the $3.5 trillion spending bill on social programs such as childcare, education, family tax breaks, and expanding Medicare for seniors. In a Pew poll, 49% opposed Trump's 2017 tax cut bill, while just 36% supported it. So again, what she said is, the bill's not polling well, and he's not a moderate. The bill is polling well, and this bill is a moderate bill because it is right smack dab in the middle, in the center of mainstream American opinion. It is the definition of centrist and moderate. Your average American is like, yeah, this is great. I like this stuff. So she's factually wrong in saying, oh, this bill's not polling well. And she's wrong in saying he's not governing as a moderate. He is governing as a moderate. I mean, I wish he was further left, but he is governing as a moderate. So again, here we go. Like, will Meet the Press correct this? Will Meghan McCain come out there and correct this? She just said something that's not true. Guys, just so you understand, this is what propaganda looks like. This is what manufacturing consent looks like. And we've seen it all around CNN now, by the way, as well. What they do is they go out there and say, are progressives going to tank the Biden agenda? What? Wait. Joe Biden's position is, and Nancy Pelosi's position is, and I got a zillion problems with them. Not on this, because their position is, you take the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill, and that passes alongside the bipartisan infrastructure bill. That's the deal. We negotiated it. This is the deal. The reconciliation bill and the bipartisan infrastructure bill at the same time they pass. That's their position. So Biden's position is the same as the House progressives' position. But they say, will the House progressives sink the Biden agenda? They're the representatives right now of the Biden agenda. It's the so-called moderate / centrist. Really, they're corporate Democrats. These are corporate right-wing Democrats. The real framing, the real conversation, the real discussion is, why are the right-wing Democrats, why are the corporate Democrats tanking the agenda? Because they are tanking the agenda. It is so on brand that apparently Meghan McCain and Kyrsten Sinema are really close friends offline. Oh, I love that. It's too perfect. Completely vapid, vacuous, miserable wine moms desperately searching for identities are buddy-buddy offline. They probably bond over the incredible hatred that they get from everybody. But you know what? That hatred is earned. So let me answer her question. She says, if it's not like Manchin, it's going to be a Republican. So I don't get the dislike of him, and I don't get the dislike of Sinema and people like that. Well, I'll explain it to you. It's very simple. Manchin and Sinema, these aren't, I have an ideological stance where I think this is too much money, or I think that these specific provisions aren't good. No, look at the reality. Joe Manchin is swimming in fossil fuel money. He has millions and millions of dollars because of fossil fuel companies. He's personally wealthy because of fossil fuels. And so when he tries to axe any climate change provisions from the bill, he's doing that because he's corrupt, because he's bought. Sinema just took, I thought the number was $500,000 from Big Pharma. Wrong. It turns out it's $750,000 from Big Pharma. So she didn't wake up one day and think, I think it is smart politics and policy to be for higher drug prices. No, that's not an ideological position. It's she's corrupt and she's bought by Big Pharma and by lobbyists, and so she's doing their bidding. So why don't people like Manchin and Sinema? We don't like Manchin and Sinema because we're against corruption, and we're against lobbyists, and we're against big money setting the direction of this country. That's why we're against them. So is your argument, Meghan McCain? You have to be cool with corruption, because if you don't take the corruption, a Republican's going to win. That doesn't mean I'm okay with corruption. I don't want the Republican to win, and I don't want a Democrat to be corrupt. Duh. Now, the Republicans are, of course, corrupt too. But I'm not going to say our corruption is better than their corruption if at the end of the day, they're blocking lower drug prices and blocking any sort of climate change, reform. So again, let me pull this up. I've read this to you guys about 1 million times, but I'm going to read it to you again because there's a really important point to make about this. They refuse to say, Manchin and Sinema absolutely refuse to say what things they would cut from this bill. The only thing we know is Sinema says, I don't want lower drug prices. Even 80% of Arizonans say they want lower drug prices. Her own constituents. She's like, no, I disagree with my own constituents. It's another Meghan McCain lie. Oh, people in Arizona love her. Not according to the polls on that issue. No way. No way. And Manchin, we know he wants to strip out a lot of the climate change stuff. Outside of that, they do not give a number that they'd be okay with for the reconciliation bill. So they're not like, you know what, I'll do 1.5 trillion. They don't say that. They don't say any, they don't give any number. And the other thing they don't do is, of these policies that I'm about to lay out for you, of these programs, they don't say which ones they'd cut. Child tax benefit, universal pre-K, paid family and medical leave, tuition-free community college, dental, hearing, and vision expansion under Medicare, housing, home care. And then, of course, you have the raising taxes on the rich, Obamacare expansion, and a few more things. They don't say, okay, we got to get rid of paid family leave and medical leave. They don't say that. Why? Because if they come out and say that, literally everybody in the country, Republican, Democrat, Independent, 80+% of people will be like, are you insane? Those are good policies. So what do? They only lead on the one where they're totally bought and owned, lowering drug prices, and in the case of Manchin, climate change stuff. And everything else they just say, I don't know, the bill, something, the deficit, too much money, inflation, whatever. And they have to bob and weave and dodge and hide because they know their position is untenable. Because this is an area where they know they're corrupt. I tell you guys all the time, my default assumption is somebody's honest about their ideology until proven otherwise. They're upfront, you take them at face value, because that's what good people do. You extend bare minimum charitability to people. But guess what? This is an instance where they've worn their welcome. Of course I don't give them charitability. They've proven that they're actually just following the money and being corrupt. So that's the reality. Now look at Meghan McCain's commentary compared to what I just told you. It's utterly useless. She's a Dynasty child who was born on third base and thought she had a triple. She thinks she has political insight. She's got nothing. She's doing propaganda effectively for higher drug prices and no action on climate change and the destruction of a transformational reconciliation bill. It's so pathetic. It's so pathetic. Why is she on TV? And why won't Meet the Press come out there and issue a correction? Why won't Meghan McCain tweet a correction? They won't do that because they're liars and they're propagandists. Or I'll be kind, I won't say liar, just ignorant. I'll leave it, I'm agnostic on whether she's ignorant or a liar. But one thing's for damn sure, they need to correct it, and they won't correct it. And yet again, a loudmouth idiot YouTuber is somehow running circles around them. That's pathetic. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.